この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for Sangatsu no Lion, Season 2, Episode 8, or Episode 30 if we're going by all the numbers, I think. Last time on Sangatsu, Hina got a nosebleed, which was just a sort of a minor symptom of the much bigger, much worse things that are going on in her life, at least at school. Her teacher really messed up. Her teacher really messed up. After seeing the stuff on the blackboard, ended up kind of blaming Hina for something. I don't know. She made sort of the same mistake that Akari talked about making earlier, where Akari wasn't as supportive and helpful and acting in Hina's best interests as she maybe should have been. And luckily, Grandpa Zillow was there to set things right and tell Hina what she really needed to hear. But in this case, there's nobody to correct the teacher at this point. There have been hints that there could be a like parent-teacher conference meeting thing, which could be interesting, could be really weird. And it could also go the worst possible way, which is the way that Ray's teacher outlined it possibly going, and having parents in conflict with the students who are being talked about just like off to the side, embarrassed and even more ostracized because of it. And now we've talked about the first part of the episode. Then there was a really solid section of Ray restating his desire to be strong for the family and to help to try to repay them in some way for what they've done for him, and his desire to do that through shogi. And then finally, the actual shogi match between him and the tongue-clicking, toe-tapping, really annoying guy, who seems like he's kind of got a heart of gold, even though he's kind of a jerk in the shogi sense. I don't know. He seems like he's a good dude, and maybe he'll stick around, so we'll see. In any case, I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about. I think last episode was a really strong one, and I'm excited to see where we go from there. So let me pull this up. I've got it up. It's at 0 seconds. There will be multiple versions of this video as usual. You can find picture-in-picture versions with the video up there in the description down there, and the timer-based version with any run-throughs and discussion and frame-by-frames, whatever, on YouTube as usual. Timer-based version will have a beep-beep timer. It'll go boop, 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 beep, and on the beep in the green light, that's the same frame that Sangatsu Season 2, Episode 8 starts playing on my screen, so if you're playing along, that's probably when you want to hit the button. Beep-beep timer goes here. This is tea, by the way. Really dark, but it's green tea. Did he find out about the teacher? Yes, he did. Yes! Please no! Oh my god. Hayashida Sensei is so awesome. I love him. Uh, now, is that really the best thing? Damn. Huh? He's just dumbstruck. Of course. Talk to somebody else, someone who might actually listen. That's a tough one. It might though. That's a good question. We have never really brought that up, have we? Ooh. Full abandon. Exactly. It's a way of coping. All right. Is this a was that a was that a JoJo's reference? Back to the Grandpazilla idea. Yeah, it would be silly. Of course he was. Thank God for Hayashida Sensei. Man, he looks real tired. One step at a time, one move at a time. Ah, that's really good. It's amazing how the difficulties with the family feed into Rei's shogi. So amazing. 2 stars shining bright. Is he gonna overhear about his illness? Oh my god. Shimada's here. I didn't realize that was him. Of course it is. Amazing. Okay. This is serious, huh? He has no idea. Kept up his appearances for you. Shimada is trying, but yeah, they try to deflect. Rei's too smart for that. He knows something serious is happening. It wasn't his usual health downswing. You didn't want to know. Yeah. The reason he can't tell him. Good idea. Hmm. Ah. Hmm. Oh. Bodoro? No. From that tournament. Against Ray? No, it's a different one. I'm just jumping to conclusions. I should stop doing that. Hmm. The way his hair springs. I don't know. Might be something else. Because he loves it. He loves it. Hmm. So they don't meet in the finals. Oh. Manuals and books. Are they tapes? Oh, oh, classic books. Wow, Shimada. Oh, did you let him win? Somewhere he can be treated like he's strong. Ah. So shogi. Yes. Will he though? Precious. A truly worthy rival. Adventurers. Really, really different end card. Ueda Hajime. Gonna look this up as usual. Did the adaptation for Furikuri. The manga adaptation. Key animation on Kizumonogatari. Did some ending animation for the rest of the Monogatari series. Not very prolific, but definitely a distinct style. Very distinct style that we see here. With these thick, washy, brushy red outlines, which turn into really effective, like, emotion indicators of the eyebrows and the shapes of the eyes. Really cool. I like it a lot. Okay, well, this show. Oh man. You may remember a good while ago when we were first introduced to Nikaido and his illness. Uh I went off on a tangent talking about what could be done with that and how maybe it comes back at a time when I least expect it and uh ends up affecting Rei's shogi. And I was thinking maybe in the finals of the tournament or something like that, or some tournament somewhere, Nikaido ends up hospitalized, and we get maybe an emotionally impactful scene where Rei goes and plays him in the hospital or something like that. That something like that could still happen, but this episode kind of blindsided me with it. Like, if I were to go down Nikaido's character traits, of course, being not terminally, but chronically ill would be something that I would remember for him. But I wasn't expecting it to come back into the story here, and affect things here. So much of the focus has been on Hina and Rei's difficulty trying to figure out a way to help her through her struggle, that Nikaido's illness as a possible conflict just sort of slipped my mind, and it feels like just as I was least expecting it, it comes back into the story and adds another layer of drama. And I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory sense. It's really good, well set up, well established, amazing drama. We also get the return of Shimada in this episode. He's been sort of off on his own for a while Rei has been dealing with shogi stuff and with the Hina stuff. Shimada has been off, and we've seen little cuts of him sort of dealing with his defeat, sort of overcoming that slowly, and I guess sort of moping maybe. But he comes back in at this point to be the one who explains Nikaido's illness to Rei. And in doing so, he's breaking what seems like a promise to Nikaido not to tell Rei, because Nikaido wants to keep his rivalry alive, and he doesn't want any sort of pity or sympathy from Rei as his rival. He wants somebody strong to fight against, who will treat him with respect and fight him seriously. And that's it's so good. It's so good. This idea that shogi for Nikaido is the one place where he's not constantly coddled, because his whole life is people either ostracizing him or cutting him out or treating him with kid gloves, right? Making sure that they don't, treating him like he's fragile stuff, like if they bump into him wrong, he's going to shatter. But he wants to be strong, because we all do, right? Nobody wants to be treated like they're weak. We all want to be able to do something in our lives, right? And Nikaido gets that from shogi. And in some sense, Rei also gets that from shogi. He's got a different kind of separation between himself and the world, but it's still the place where he can be strong, the place where he thinks that if he gets good enough, he can be needed. It's the route for him to achieve what he desires from the world. And in the same way, it's the route for Nikaido to achieve what he desires. He desires to be treated like he's normal or on an even footing with his opponents. It's sort of a reversal between them, because Rei is fighting for something like that, but mostly his initial motivations, at least, mostly were survival and fiscal gain, like getting money, being able to provide for himself, now expanding that to being able to provide to an extent for Akari and the family, but then realizing that's maybe not the best idea, and they won't accept charity from him. Whereas Nikaido has all of the wealth, and he could just rest on his family's fortunes, right? He doesn't have to do this for survival reasons or anything like that. He has to do it because he needs it. He needs a playing field where he can excel, where he can, as Shimada says, run around like a hero, like an adventure novel. Something that this show does incredibly well, that I guess I should give the credit to the manga for this, to Chika Umino for this, because it's writing stuff. It's not exactly the anime stuff. So all credit to the writing. But in this story, it's really kind of unique in a sense, because shogi, while it's the centerpiece of the story, is not the focus of the story. The focus of the story is on the characters more than anything, and because of that, it can jump around and weave a bunch of different parallel narratives, right? Like the whole Hina narrative is parallel to the whole Goto and Kyoko narrative, which is parallel to the whole Akari handling her family narrative, which is parallel to the Nikaido illness narrative, which is parallel to the Shimada uh, seeking his own worth in shogi narrative, and all of these things are happening at the same time, um, and we just see bits and pieces of them that make sense in a row. But what's really magical is that they all feed back into our main character. They all feed back into Rei's motivations and desires, and it feels the result of that is that it feels like when Rei sits down for a shogi match, everything in the story feels like it's on the line, regardless of who his opponent is, because these are the things that are weighing on his mind during the match. They're what influence his play, and the match serves as a potential resolution for them. It's really fascinating. It's so good. All of these different stories are part of one story, right? Like, we follow the line of Rei going through his life as a shogi player, and there are all of these interactions that he has with other people, which bloom out into their own self-contained storylines, and then circle back in and feed into his momentum forward, or act as stopping blocks for him, act as roadblocks. But it all alters his trajectory. It all alters his path as a character and his character itself, because he learns and grows from everything. It's so good. It's so good. I'm sorry for blathering about it for so long, but man, it is just kind of exceptional. It's really good. Okay. So things that I really like from this episode. The bringing Nikaido's health issues back into the story, I think, is really strong. And doing it before the Hina stuff is resolved in any direction is really, really strong, especially with the tone that the last couple of episodes have taken, where Rei doesn't know what to do about the Hina stuff. So we're slowly building that story. It came out of the woodwork with a big emotional punch, with Hina's reveal that she's being bullied, the whole story about her friend, and like, came out with a big punch, and then it sort of faded away because nobody really knows what to do about it right now. It's like this ongoing issue that nobody knows how to solve, and they're continuously working toward potential solutions for it. Rei is continuously talking to Hayashida Sensei and trying to get advice, trying to figure out what he can do about this situation. He's sort of trying different things. He's thinking, like, maybe I can support them through shogi. Maybe I can say the right things or do the right things, or cause a parent-teacher conference type thing to happen or something. So that's continuing to build up. We'll see if Akari plus Hayashida Sensei versus teachers or board or whatever ends up coming about. I really don't know. It would kind of one thing that was played as a joke in this episode would be, it would be kind of weird for Hayashida Sensei, who doesn't really know Hina, to step in as, like, her friend's former homeroom teacher and be there. But it could also be really useful. It could be really helpful. And also, I'd love to see him interacting with the family. I don't think we've seen any of that, and I think that would be really cool if he were to come over for dinner or something like that. I think that would be nice. But I don't know. Shit, I had something right on the tip of my tongue I was going to talk about. Oh, Hayashida realizing immediately that Rei's goal of trying to be needed through playing shogi by providing money to the family was probably not going to work, and his happiness that Rei figured that out was really cool, and I liked it a lot. You know what? Let's go through this scene, because I was kind of struck by it when it happened, and mostly the opening scene of the episode. I was kind of struck by it, but when it happened, and I want to see how it fits together. The righteous fury that Rei and Hayashida Sensei share over the way the homeroom teacher responds to Hina's difficulties is fantastic. It's really great. So he's immediately, wanting to rush off and lay down some pain. I love these what do I even call them? Let's call them palette swaps. Let's take the term that I've been using for the same kind of thing in JoJo's. I think these are more effective. Maybe that's just the power of the shaft head turn, but here we get a really energetic head tilt. It's not the slow one or the set a mood one. It's setting a very different mood. We go through a bunch of colors, speed lines everywhere, everything's shaking. Don't raise your voice to me. And Kiriyama's holding him back. Despite we felt some of that rage coming from his side before. Man, the emotion on Rei's face is fantastic. And his voice actor really hits it. And then Rei reveals something that's been on his mind. While he's been ostracized, the way that he handled it is not something that's useful for Hina. So he feels like he has no way to help them or to help her. Even though he's been in the same situation, his natural response to it was so different and wasn't effective. So he's kind of at a loss. He can't tell her, well, just do what I did, and he doesn't know another way. So what can he do except reach out for help? And thankfully, that's what he does. I didn't bother to struggle. I just immersed myself in shogi. And then he talks about he could at least make money, but that's no good. Right. So tell me. And now he's desperate. He doesn't have an answer. And so he's fiending for one. He's desperate. And I love that Hayashida Sensei is like, no, don't you try to bribe me with Odin or barbecue or whatever. You might make more money than I do, but I am still a teacher. This is still my duty. My pride as a teacher, right? To buy you the steamed bun. This spinning flick. Amazing. And then this I want to hear it. I want to hear it. 後で一杯おごるからさ. And he's just taken aback by that. The deep circles under Rei's eyes, which I've been rocking for the last few days, my sleep schedule's been rough, are great. I really like that little touch. I think it adds a lot to his... It makes us feel how stressed out he is, and he's real stressed out. Talk to someone else. We get solid advice from Hayashida Sensei. He's sort of showing some stuff. He's taking this seriously, and he is, though it may or may not happen, he is more than happy to go and support Akari if she has to go and talk to a teacher. And then this leads into finding out what's been going on with their father, which is really interesting. I don't think we've ever really talked about it. In fact, I don't think it's ever been brought up at all, and I don't think I've caught that. I don't think I've caught that the father is absent. I just sort of assumed that nobody has parents because Rei doesn't have parents or something. I don't know. I'm stupid. Akari, Momo, and Hina's dad just like up and left and started a new family and left them alone. The fuck? Like it happens, but the fuck? Like we knew about the tragedy in their past of the mother dying, but I never even thought to ask, what about the father? I guess he couldn't hack it. I wonder if he left before or after their mother passed away. Regardless, damn, dude. Not cool. And then, oh man. It's almost hard to like analyze this because Ray does so immediately after. He immediately gives us the perfect analysis of the scene, not just of what Akari is doing, but what the show is doing in explaining this story. It's something that's there, it's a deep wound, and it's got scar tissue over it, right? Akari treats, as Ray says, she treats it as though it doesn't matter, as though it doesn't hurt. But everything about the setup, about the pacing, about the way that it's shot tells us immediately that this hurts. And it hurts to talk about. No music, the careful slow movements from Akari, going through exactly what he's doing without saying anything about how it affects her or how she feels about it. Just this is what happened, laying things out briefly, right? And then immediately deflecting, we have bean jam pancakes. Do you want some? And the fact that we hold this, we have these like cutaways to her motion, and then it's mostly just her static here in the center of the screen. Lots of space around her. Then we cut away over to Ray. And he's got this expression on his face that's like, oh, yeah, I'll have some pancakes. Fuck. Oh, it's so good. She laid it out so it can mean nothing to her. Not, you know what? That's actually kind of an important distinction. Not so that I think it means nothing to her, but so that it can mean nothing to her. So that she doesn't have to scratch at the wound. So that she can just lay out the barest details. Whew. His heart was floating around. Something else that's really great that this show does is transition between a single conversation where questions are being answered and showing the scene that the character is talking about instead of having them narrate over it. In this case, we do have him narrating over it, but narrating in like the Ray sense where he's talking about the depth of what's going on and not as though he's explaining the story to Hayashida, but he is, and so we follow it immediately, like smoothly back into that conversation, and that continues. This happens all the time in the show, and I just picked up on it consciously, but it's a constant thing that happens. Two characters will be talking, will flash to whatever they're talking about, but fluidly, and then the scene will play out, and we'll end it with narration from one of the characters, normally Ray, to pull us back into the conversation, as though he's just finishing explaining what had happened. That's really cool. Hayashida the boxer. I do think this is, yeah, okay, that's definitely the Jotaro pose. 100%. Okay. Cool. He'll come out as demon teacher. We get Teacher Zilla, sorta. He's glad that he realized the money issue. Buys in the steamed bun. Pride as a teacher. Good shit, Hayashida. And in this scene, Ray just looks so defeated. He looks so wrecked. This sort of false goal that he put for himself of like making a bunch of money and then helping support the family with it. The veil has been lifted. It's not going to work. It's not going to do it. And he's just stressed and exhausted. Poor kid. And then we follow this up with something interesting, and it's not exactly clear that this is what Hayashida is saying to him, but I'm pretty sure that this is meant to be what Hayashida chooses to say. You want to be needed, so you want to get better at shogi. What's so wrong with that? Ray has been tearing himself up thinking that his goals aren't good enough, right? Like, they're not accomplishing what he really needs to accomplish. It's like he's reverse rationalizing. It's self-doubt, and it's double second guessing yourself to an extent. But it's more than that. It's like he has this idea of up here is the tier of worthy goals, and he doesn't think he's got something in that category. He doesn't think getting better at shogi is good enough. It's got to be winning it all, or it's got to be providing everything for the family, or something. And so this sentiment that I think Hayashida gives him, that says one step at a time, one play at a time, one move at a time, look around you, figure out what you can do, and do it. Little goals are not necessarily lower on the totem pole. They can be really worthwhile. I think that's a really important sentiment. I think that's a really important thing. Yeah. I like it. What you're capable of, one thing at a time. One foot in front of the other. And win the match. So that was his semifinal match, right? Or was that his? Yeah. Yeah. And your opponent is Yamazaki Junkei, not Nikaido. Do it for Nikaido too. So this victory leads into the second half of the episode. More than half, really. Focused on Nikaido. We started off with his rival resolve. How, with such fighting spirit, could he possibly be defeated? The dream. Two shining stars together. And this takes a toll on Ray. After drilling that into my head again and again, he lost. And he overhears. To some extent, his shogi world kind of tumbles down here. Nikaido was the stalwart rival we could always count on to fight it out. And he collapses at the end of his second match. This scene is perfect at portraying the moment where someone is talking and someone overhears something that they shouldn't. And the person who was talking has no way out. They have to explain it. As soon as Ray confronts them, we see it on their faces. And Ray says he sees it on their faces. Oh shit. What are you talking about? They try and cover. Oh shoot. You found out. I was the only one who didn't know. He tries to play it off. This sequence of cuts is amazing. Bust shot from the side over the shoulder. Dismissive hand movement. Cut to the fake smile. The blink, the sidelong glance. The slow turn. And then right on cue, the chairman enters. And then they deflect and try to get away. Not a chance. And he turns into the light. If you ask me and I can't answer, there must be a reason, right? Last chance. But the chairman kind of gives the go-ahead. After Ray goes through realizing that all the signs have been there. In a way, by not asking about it, he was being kind to Nikaido, because, as he says, he feels like Nikaido probably didn't want to talk about it. But in another way, he's doing exactly what Nikaido doesn't want, and coddling him. But I guess it's not really that, because Nikaido just doesn't want to be treated differently because he's ill. So I guess Rei's willful ignorance here is potentially what Nikaido wanted. Of course, Nikaido later says to Shimada, he pleads with him not to tell Rei. Shimada can't do it. So could I ask you what the reason is, along with everything else? Yeah. And at this point, Shimada realizes he has to tell him. And the chairman realizes it too. And so he sort of gives them the go-ahead by bowing out. Later. Take care of things. Let's go get dinner. We have a little break of scenery. Shimada talked to me about Nikaido, his little brother disciple. I like this old mentor character. I found an interesting child. Already, he's got all of the Nikaido traits. Chubby and crisp. He's curious, excited, dedicated. And Shimada recognizes him. So we're 2 layers deep into flashback territory right now. Flashback number 1 is Shimada meeting Nikaido. Flashback number 2 is Shimada realizing that he's seen Nikaido before and playing back the story of Nikaido at this tournament. I was thinking maybe this was the same tournament as the one that was held up on the roof, but I don't know. It actually may be. Everyone looks down on him. Stuck up, rich kid. some stupid kid with a pastime can't be dedicated to it. Especially made lunch. Spoiled rich kid. Why go through all this trouble? Because on the board he can be strong. Dismissed and dismissed and dismissed. Finals are Ray and the other. The spoiled rich kid lost in the semifinals. Did he lose to Ray? I guess this could be the match that happened on the rooftop. He finds the match records and he realizes he's made a mistake. In judgment. All out war with sitting kings. He's collapsed. From the old man's calm demeanor, yeah, his caretaker, you can tell this isn't unexpected. A glimpse into his lifetime of illness. And they really nail this face on, I don't remember his name, but Nikaido's caretaker. They nail this face of just like compassionate duty. The match records of someone who threw a happy childhood to the winds. No, someone who never had that opportunity to begin with. Somber. So we exit from the first level of the flashback. Or from the lower level of the flashback into the upper level at the training house. Or no, he's coming to train Nikaido at his house. Gotcha. And he's studying, playing. And again, Nikaido is curious and excited. Thrilled by everything. If he wanted to play. Glorious Shogi. The Shogi big brother. But one time I heard him. And it was by going easy on him. By holding back. I'm treated as a weakling even when I play Shogi. How can I live? The only place where you could run about as a hero. And then we exit. We're on the 81 squares of this board. Then we exit the flashback into reality time. So good. It's so good. It flows so perfectly. Like we just went 2 layers deep into flashback and smoothly exited out of them. Kind of like it's like exiting out of the layers of a dream in Inception, you know? It's so cool. Oh man. Doesn't realize it himself, but he's a kind person. And he's unstable. Edo sees Ray for who he is. If he knew about this, he'd lose his touch. Would he? He might not respond the way you think, Nikaido. I think he respects you. I think Ray really respects you. Right as he turned it around, his opponent had a 4-fold repetition. I assume this is the same as it is in chess, that if you repeat the same moves set number of times, the match is a draw. Let me look it up and make sure. 4-fold repetition shogi. Threefold repetition. Yeah. Ah, okay. Senichite moves for 1,000 days, or repetition draw is a rule in shogi stating that the game will end in a draw if the same position is repeated 4 times during a game. Gotcha. So it is 4. Chess, it's 3. So yeah, that causes that match to end in a draw, which means that Nikaido is forced to play a second match immediately afterward, and that's where he collapses after 135 moves, right? 138 moves that wrung out his soul. 1 minute allowed per move. Yeah, he collapses. And Ray weeps, sort of reading this flashback from the match history. Damn. And then the final question is, can you still be merciless to him, knowing that he's got this weakness? Can you still be the rival that he needs? Wipes away the tears. Folds this up, and there's so much emphasis on it, it's precious. It's got value. It means something to Ray. How many cuts do we get? Folding it. Putting it in the bag. Closing the bag. Tucking it away. Safe and sound. I'm going to the finals. Again, it all feeds into Ray. It all feeds into his resolve. And we get a cliffhanger on the finals starting as they run through the rain to get there. He had faith in himself. Just like back then. Like an adventure novel. Fuck. Oh man, the finals are next episode. Ah! But I've already recorded an hour and 10 minutes. Ah! Well, this was a really good one. There are now 2 conflicts building to a major head. The big ol' Hina conflict is seemingly heading in the direction of a meeting between Akari and a teacher. Ray is entering the finals of this shogi tournament. This is episode 30, so it's episode 8 of the season. And there are 20... No. What? There are 21 episodes? No, there are 22. I don't actually know how this was released, so I don't know if cores matter or anything. But it feels like we're building these 2 major conflicts to a head. I don't see them really transitioning into the latter half of the season with the Hina bullying thing. But it could be. It could be a really long ongoing conflict. Interesting. I'm really curious to see where the story goes from here and what it focuses on. Because as I was talking about at the beginning of this discussion, there are all of these parallel threads, and they don't necessarily need to be resolved. We can step away from them and onto a different timeline and like explore different characters and their own struggles and their own stuff before coming back to something else that's been going on and building in the background. So it's really unpredictable. Mm. In any case, this was a really knockout episode. I hope you've enjoyed it too. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm about running out of stuff to talk about for this one episode. So yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's do chill stuff. If you liked this video, go ahead and do that. If you're not subbed and you want more, maybe do so. And if you are subbed and you're not getting my videos, maybe the bell can help you. And as always, if you really like this content or want to support this guy who makes it, you can head over to patreon.com/Teeaboo to do that and get early access to next week's Sangatsu reaction and a bunch of other stuff and Discord access and the ability to vote in polls. So check that out if you're interested. It is always appreciated. And thank you to all of you who are patrons. It's really kind of amazing. So let's close the door on this episode. I've been Teeaboo. This has been Sangatsu Season 2, Episode 8. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I hope to catch you next week in the next one. Peace.